Milsurp Garage, back with you. Another Pedersen design. Hold on, start the video and walk away. Alrighty. Now you guys have heard of this thing before. Model 10. I know you've heard of it. No ejection port. Weird, right? Ejects and loads from the bottom. Everything happens through the bottom. This was supposed to be a great design to prevent dirt and everything from getting inside. John Pedersen, this thing is older than you think. It's called a Model 10, denoting 1910. Now, if you know anything about Remington, for some crazy reason, they always added 2 years to when it came out. Don't know why that is. That's the craziest thing. But that would mean that the Remington Model 10 started hitting the streets in 1908, and they only made these till 1929. So you only made these things for like 21 years. Not a long lifespan, and an much older lifespan than people would think. A lot of people think World War II when they hear these things, but it's not like they weren't used in World War II. There might have been some leftover ones left over. I mean, the military would have used anything they had, but they were by no means some type of production for World War II. You know what I mean? They were a World War I gun, definitely. And you've heard the rumors of this thing. This is the gun that supposedly the Germans protested because it was cruel to use a shotgun in war, and it was okay that they were gassing people, but it wasn't okay that we were using shotguns. I've heard those stories, I've read them, but that's this shotgun. That's World War I, not World War II. A lot of people think that's World War II stuff, but no, these things were carried in World War II alongside the 1897, and they were used, for a lot of guarding stuff too, guarding munitions in England and stuff. I've heard, and all kinds of uses. And then this one specifically is a 1927 dated Model 10. So if this was a 1927, it did not see any World War I action, obviously, and it's a little too young to be World War II used, and too clean for that. So probably this thing, if it is marked military, I'll show you. It's got the U.S. bomb right there, and it has the bomb here, and that's like a double stamp, and then one over here, cylinder choke markings. This barrel is 20 inches, and it's these markings. These markings can be faked. I'll tell you that right now. You do have to be careful when you buy. Me, I wasn't really caring. I got this a while ago where it's not like everyone was going crazy over stuff like this that was military marked, but I didn't really care if it was real or not. And I think that if you go in there not knowing anything, you get lucky a lot of the times. Like if you research it too much, you're always finding ones that are no good. But if you just go throw caution to the wind and just go, you know what, it's worth it even if it wasn't marked for that price, so I'm just buying it. And it doesn't look like the guy that's selling it is really like some kind of schemer or collector, which doesn't really mean anything because it could be faked and then change hands 10 times. But what makes me think that these markings are definitely real is that the serial number range is in a range where, when I've looked online, I've seen that there's other ones stamped this way that were used for things like embassy guarding and Fort Knox security and all types of things the military was involved in with doing security. You know what I mean? Like banks and stuff. You do see a lot of these that are marked. They even have these U.S. marks, and they'll have another stamp that'll say like United First Bank or something like that, where they bought them to use them. They bought like these military surplus ones to use for guarding banks and armored cars and things like that. But this doesn't have any of those other markings. So, but I'm thinking that these markings are real only because, well, number one, The serial number range is in the serial number range where I've seen others posted online. So it seems like they used a big block of them for military use. And then what's interesting is that this stamp right here, this one, this bomb stamp is a double stamp. It'd probably be really difficult to see, but a double stamp like that would happen when these stamps are made. They're actually made with, it's different than these roll stamps. These kinds of things are made with literally just a hammer and like a chisel-y looking stamp, right? So if you hit it with the hammer and you're doing like one after another, it's easy to just go like boom boom like that, or for it to jump like that when you hit it. You can imagine it'd be easy for that to happen, and that's what makes like the double. Now that would happen if you're doing like a whole line of like 10 of them in a row, where they're coming across in front of you and you're just taking one, putting it here, hitting it, moving it, putting another one here, hitting it. It's like if you're in the middle of doing like 1,000 of them, you would be, that kind of carelessness would happen. But I think if you were trying to fake it, you would be like putting it exactly where it's got to go. How hard should I hit it? I don't want it too deep. It's got to be just right. And I really doubt you'd hit a double stamp if you were faking it. So, well, until now everyone's gonna be like, that's a great idea. Let's just double stamp it. So, 20-inch barrel. It's got the front bead, the honeycomb looking fore end, and no bells and whistles on these military marked ones. There's no checkering or anything. Just a plain plastic butt pad. And let me make sure I'm not zoomed here. Now, this, interestingly enough, their takedown, they have a button up here on the front that turns this to the side. Release the magazine, release the slide, and then we twist apart. We've seen that before. And the takedown guns are very handy. It has got a cool feature to have on a shotgun. If you think about it, you're making it where the whole gun is only as large as the stock in the receiver, so you could carry it in like it's even a 20-inch even a 20-inch gun like this, 20-inch barrel, overall length is 39.5 inches. That's a lot for, you have to sling that over your shoulder or something. You can't really carry it in anything that doesn't look like a gun case. But with this, if you're going away camping or something like that, it could fit in just a regular sized duffel that's just, this big from here to here, So, this is the slide release button right there. Not really much to these things. And an interesting click safety right here. What's interesting about this safety, obviously it's inside the trigger guard. When you put your finger in here to shoot, you're clicking it off without having to do anything else, move any other finger. So that's kind of interesting. And of course it's slam fire. As you pump it, it will slam fire. So that's what John Pedersen brought us. Now let's take a little look here how this action works, because it's kind of interesting. If it has the Ithaca Model 37 does this, but it's more like a John Browning design. It works a little differently. It's a little bit more conventional actually, but Pedersen way back then, he was really thinking this thing is like, I don't have much success with this design, I'll tell you that right now. I think this one needs a little tuning, but I'm really kind of lost on exactly how this thing, what to do to change its functioning or to tune it. I'm still learning it just by watching it and looking at it. But oh, by the way, this is what messes me up on YouTube. The last video for the what was it? The handgun. What handgun did I do? The 51. That one went through. It was the The Savage 1907, because I took it apart and I was showing how they don't like that. They demonetize that. If you take a gun apart and you start showing how it functions, to YouTube, that's no good. You could just show it, talk about it, just exactly the way it looks, just like this, and you want to talk about it, that's fine. As soon as you start to get into instructional stuff about how to take it apart, even me just showing here how this magazine tube works to break it down maybe would be enough for them to say that's instructional. Meanwhile, that's just how the gun is. You're just showing what the gun is all about. And I just like showing how the different actions work and the different methods to use for semi-automatic pistols and for semi-automatic operation, or how do you load a shotgun, how do you eject a shell and load it through the same port, with how do you do that, like by just pumping an action. I like to show how that happens, and apparently to them showing any instructional on how it functions or its method of working is enough for demonetization. And I'll tell you right now, people, I don't care. They could demonetize it. I don't care. I'm only just experimenting with this monetization. I got to be honest, since July, I made like $6.71 as far as YouTube tells me. And you don't get a check from them until you get $100. So at this rate, what am I going to get a check for $100 in 3 years? To what? Do videos where I'm like, well, I really wish I could show you how this shotgun works, but I'm not allowed. No, I'm sticking with the way I like to do videos. And then if they start demonetizing everything as we go, I'm just shutting the monetization off. That's all. I don't care. So that being said, let's show how this works. There you go, YouTube moderators. Click that demonetization button because I'm showing how the shotgun that I'm showing works. You're just supposed to show a picture of it. You can find a picture of it on Wikipedia. You don't need YouTube for that. You want YouTube to flourish. You want people to come here and go, oh, let's find out how that Model 10 works. Let's watch a video of it actually in action. That's what somebody would want to see, right? I would think. You're going to kill YouTube is what you guys are going to do. Well, anyway. So let's just say we got a round in the chamber. Safety off. Bang. So we fire. We have an empty shell in the barrel. And we have a magazine tube that's loaded. Okay? So, after we shoot, we pull back the slide. No button needs to be pressed. Obviously, after you pull the trigger, you're able to just pull the slide back. And if you notice the bolt, watch the bolt, it'll tilt. See how it tilts down in the back, right? So it's obviously a tilting bolt mechanism where it'll lock. When it closes, it locks in the up position into a recess. And then when you're opening it, the first action is going to be it's camming the bolt down in the back so it can slide back and extract the empty case with the extractor that's way up on the top there. See it? Now, it goes back far enough. It cocks the hammer, the internal hammer. I just felt it. And it exposes the ejector, which is right down there. See it? The ejector kicks the round out of the bottom. But now you reach a point. You're like, okay, I can imagine, I could design that myself, to be honest with you. And I'm like, now, how do I get a round out of the magazine tube that doesn't just fall right out of the gun? Number one. And then how do I get a round out of the magazine tube? One round. How do I just get one out? Because right now there's obviously something blocking them from shooting out. There's a follower with a spring behind it with those rounds in there. So I only need one. So what do I do now? So I'm taking credit. He has right here. Boy, I wish I had something like really, let me see, what can I point with this? Maybe it'll work better. Right here, there's a part that is blocking the next round from coming in. Can we see that? Let me get this light adjusted better. There we go. So it's right here, and that right there is what's blocking the next round from coming in. Now watch what it's going to do. It's going to rotate along with this mechanism here. Look at that whole flapper there. So now it just released the round, and the round shot into the receiver. Pshonk, a new round in there, right? And it's really going to be hard to see, but it rotates in such a way where it releases that one, but then another blocking piece comes up right behind it to stop the next one from coming in. It's over there. And it stops the next one. So it only allowed one through with like a gate. Now that round is just kind of laying on this flapper here. I have it upside down, so but you can imagine if it was the other way around, it would just be laying there. So now as you close, it lifts. It's like a lifter. It lifts that shell up and aligns it perfectly so that as the bolt comes forward, it goes right into the extractor and connects to the bolt face. So by now, the front of the shell is already entering the barrel, so it can go away. So that's why at this point, it's lifting up, it's being pushed. At this point, just by the size of the shell, the 2 3/4 shell, it knows that it's already inside the barrel. So it goes to that point, and now the bolt riding over this piece down here on the bottom pushes it fully closed. And then the bolt comes forward, pushes the shell into the chamber, clicks it over the extractor, and the last step is that the bolt itself locks upwards into place, and we kick out the button, and we're ready to rock. Bang, bang. Pretty awesome, right? Really interesting design. The flapper gun. I'll be honest with you, this design hasn't really worked well for me. I'm being honest. I've used this one, and it's finicky, and I think it just needs a little attention. But I've used another one, and I'm like, well, let me see. I'm going to gauge it against this one, and then that one was even worse. So I think it's like time didn't really do well for these things. And if I had to guess, I would say that wear and tear on a design like this doesn't do it well, doesn't do it justice. One of the good things that John Browning was good at is that when his designs wore, there was such give for the tolerances. Like, there could be so much wear and it still functioned the way it was supposed to. And there's no way that was by accident, because he's had just like so many designs and they all work the same way. Like lever action guns that he designed with Winchester that are so loose and floppy and everything, just from like so many years of work cycling and everything, they still work just fine. They might even work better loose like that. And but a lot of these other guys, like they're such, everything is so tight and precision that when they start to wear a little bit, they get funky, They get funky. I think even the 1911, that's what was so cool about the 1911 John Browning design, is that those things, even sloppy as hell, still worked. So what else do I have here? This thing, we got matching numbers on here: barrel, receiver, and trigger group. So if somebody did fake a riot gun, they did a damn pretty good job, because they had to use a cylinder bore, 20-inch barreled, and the stock has the numbers on it too. So it had to be a plain Jane stock like this, you know what I mean? So like, all those things going together lead me to believe that these stampings were real. If there's any expert out there that knows more about these stampings or these particular shotguns, or what to look for to really find out for sure if they were used for military, let me know, and I'll take a look and post it in the comments, and we'll do a follow-up. But as far as I know, these were military. I never felt it necessary to go out and get another Remington Model 10 for like skeet shooting or anything like that with like 30-inch barrel, like a civilian version, like quote-unquote civilian version. Just because, like I said, it's an interesting design. I like to play with it. I take it out and shoot it once in a while, but it's just finicky. I don't want to be up on the trap line. When these things double feed, forget about it. Like let's say it doesn't eject the round for some reason, and it stays there. Then the next one pops in here, and when you go to close it, now you have two in there. But if you open it to try to clear it, you have the flapper in the way. So then you're like, all right, what do I'm just gonna have to take it down. So then if you do the procedure to take it down, you have to have the bolt closed. You can't take it down with the bolt open because the action bar locks into the bolt in the rear. So you can't take it down. So you just, like if you were in war and you felt it screw up and you looked and you saw two rounds in here, like you'd have it like this, and you would see a round that didn't get ejected and the other one popped out of the magazine tube, just drop it and like grab a rock because it's over. It takes forever to clear that. Trust me, I've been there. So that's one of the things about it where I'm like, yeesh. But if you had it functioning the way it's supposed to, it's killer. It's nice to be, first of all, it's ambidextrous because it ejects out of the bottom, and it's nice to have for war and for anything, just that there's no debris gets into it. It's pretty cool. So that's my version of a video on the Remington Model 10, and we will be back. I think I'm gonna post this one now, and I might just jump down your throats with another video tonight and just bombard you guys. You know what I notice is happening? I don't have many, there aren't many views from subscribers. It's most of my views, like 85-90% of my views are from just people just browsing on YouTube searches. So since that's where I get most of my views, unless if a video is deemed not satisfactory to most advertisers, which is what they call it when they don't monetize it, when they review it and they say nope, no good, they don't put it up. Like when you're searching, somebody just searches for Remington Model 10, there might be like 50 things that come up. You'll be like 48. So like no one's seeing your videos, And meanwhile, if you get approved for monetization, then they want those ads to run YouTube. That's how they make their money too. So then it'll put you more up near the forefront. So I notice things have been suffering. That video on the Savage 1907 in 24 hours had like 6 hits in 24 hours. 6 hits. So that just goes to show that my subscribers, if they were subscribed and they had alerts turned on, they would be watching it. But the subscribers, they get to it after a while. I notice subscribers, that it's there, so they could even get a notification and they go, oh, Milsurp Garage posted a video, I'm working, whatever. I understand people have lives, and then maybe they'll watch it on Friday or Saturday or something. They go through their new YouTube videos that have come in from those subscribers and they watch everything. So that I understand. It starts to pick up after a few days with the subscribers, but just I noticed that I don't immediately get a whole bunch of views from it being featured in searches, or if people just put Milsurp stuff, like, that it just would pop up as a suggestion. So YouTube doesn't suggest your stuff if it's not monetized. So I thought that was interesting too. But don't get the wrong idea. Subscribers, I love you all and you watch plenty. So that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying from a perspective of how YouTube works your video. You start to see it more when you get monetized. You start to see what they do with your stuff more. It's interesting. But be back tonight with another video. I'm going to do one. We're going to pull out another handgun and look at another different type of handgun action. All right? So they'll demonetize that too. You all have a good one, and I'll see you soon.